In this video, we're going to practice factoring special cases, which means we're going to be looking at the difference of two squares. So when you look at the difference of two squares, it's basically each of these are squared and you're missing that middle term. So this does look like a binomial. So let's go ahead and just practice factoring like we have been in the past using our X method. And then I'll go ahead and explain and make the connection for you. So here, in this case, what you're going to notice is that A is 1, B is not -9, B would be the middle term with X, so B is 0 here, and C is -9. So when I look at this, I draw my X, B goes at the top, 0 goes at the top, A times C goes at the bottom, 1 times -9, which is -9. And so this time, I'm going to be dividing by 1, and it's not going to change my factors. I need to come up with two factors, or two numbers, that will multiply to get me -9, but they add up to 0. So if I start with 1 and 9, obviously that's not it. I know that 3 and 3. If I change the sign of one of them, I can get 0. It doesn't matter which one. They're both the same number. So if I make this a +3 and make this a -3, if I take 3 and minus 3, I get 0. And if I take 3 and multiply -3, I get -9. So these are going to be my two factors. A +3 divided by 1 is still +3. -3 divided by 1 is still -3. So my answer is going to be X plus 3 and X minus 3. If you can look at a problem and recognize that this is a difference of two squares, because x squared, the square root of x squared is just x. So the first term in each of them is x. The square root of 9 is 3. So both of these numbers are 3. One is a positive, one is a negative, in order for that middle term to cancel out to 0. So it's nice when a is equal to 1 and you can quickly identify that. Let's try another example. Example number 2. So if you look at this, you have 4x squared minus 25. Again, the middle term b is 0. So a is 4, b is 0, and c is -25. If you do use your x method, it works. You just have to write it out. So b goes at the top, it's 0. A times c goes at the bottom. 4 times -25 goes at the bottom, which is going to be a -100. So if I make my table for -100, I want to come up with two numbers that will multiply to get me -100, but also add up to 0. So you don't want to go through the process of 1 times 100, 2 times 50. No, you want to go and think what two numbers would multiply to get you 100, but add them together and get 0. So I automatically think of 10 and 10. Well, if I multiply 10 and 10, I get 100. If I start to change my signs, because -100, one's positive and one's negative, I test it out. 10 minus 10 is 0. And 10 times -10 is -100. So this works out. So this time I need to be careful because A is 4. So I should have put this in the beginning, so I didn't forget. Each side, you should be dividing each factor by 4. So if I know that my factors are +10 and -10, I'm going to take +10 divided by 4, -10, and divide it by 4. So when I put that in the calculator, you're going to get a decimal. So you don't want to automatically put in the calculator, get your decimal 2.5, say x plus 2.5. No, you're factoring this down. And if you get a decimal, convert it back to a fraction. So what this simplifies to is 5/2. So this is where you need to remember bottoms up. So the bottom will go up with x, 2x. The top will be added on, plus 5. Here this simplifies to -5/2. So this is going to be bottoms up again. So the bottom goes up with x. 2 goes up with x. The negative is -5. You're not going to put a -2. So now if we put this together for our final answer, you should get 2x plus 5 times 2x minus 5. And so if you go back and you think about the difference of two squares, and you look at this and I can quickly identify it's a difference of two squares because b is 0 in the middle. You're taking the square root of 4, that's 2. Square root of x squared is x, so 2x on each of these first terms. Square root of 25 is 5, one's plus and one's minus in order for that middle term to cancel out. In the next example, we are looking at four x squared minus 20x plus 25. So in this one, you're going to do the same process. A equals 4, b equals negative 20, and c equals 25. Draw your x. B goes on the top, negative 20. A times c goes on the bottom. 4 times 25 goes on the bottom, which is 100. And then you're dividing by a on both sides. Divide by 4 on both sides. So we're going to simplify. We're going to first find our factors, and then we'll simplify. So you're looking for two factors this time, not factors that add up to 0. They need to add up to negative 20. So you can go down your list, or if you're looking for those two numbers that add up to 20, negative 20, you can automatically identify, okay, I know 10 and 10 would add up to 20, but I need them both to be negative, because if I take negative 10 and I add negative 10, I want negative 20. And if I take negative 10 and multiply negative 10, I will get positive 100. So you need to make sure that matches up with your signs. So negative 10 and negative 10 are going to be your factors. And again, you're going to simplify each one. Negative 10 divided by 4 is negative 5 halves, negative 5 over 2. These are my factors. And I need to remember bottoms up. So I'm going to take the bottom and bring it up, 2x minus 5, and 2x minus 5 over here. So if they are exactly the same, yes, you would put it together as your final answer as 2x minus 5 times 2x minus 5, but you can also rewrite this as the same factor here is squared. Okay, so this is rewritten as one factor squared. 2x minus 5 squared. And the reason for that is if you square the first term, 2x squared, square it. 2 times 2 squared is 4. X squared is x squared. 2 times the inside, so 2x times negative 5 is negative 10, and multiply that by 2, you get negative 20x. Take negative 5 and square it, positive 25. So let's go ahead and try one more example, number 4. And you're going to use your x method again. A equals 9, b equals 24, and c equals 16. Draw your x. 24 goes at the top. A times c goes at the bottom. 9 times 16. 9 times 16 is 144. And you're dividing by a on both sides. Divide by a. So if you look for your factors of 144 that add up to 24, and multiply to get you 144, they're going to be 12. So a positive 12 and a positive 12. So if you take 12 and divide it by 9, because that is a, simplify that, and it simplifies to 4/3 on both sides. So this is where you want to remember bottoms up, bottoms up. And you write this as 3x plus 4. And this other factor is also going to be the same, 3x plus 4. So when you put this together, it is the same exact factor, so you can just write it as that factor squared. So 3x plus 4 times 3x plus 4 is also written as 3x plus 4 squared. And now you're going to practice on your own in your slides.